Now, I just want to know your opinion about my opinion, which I'm going to put forward to you. I always tend to think of anthropology and of its history as a sort of a cyclical wave. It used to be society versus culture, individual versus collective subject, history or not history, and so on and so forth. And I tend to think that anthropology has always had by itself the means to understand, after a cycle, 10, 15 years, when it was too much of idealism, let's move a bit towards a more materialistic approach, and so on and so forth. As a matter of fact, when I came to anthropology in the late 60s or early 70s, I ran across an essay. It was published on the British magazine, the New Left Review. The title was The End of Anthropology. I think the author was Peter Worsley or Jairus Banerjee in Indian origin anthropology, and there was a debate in those days about the end of anthropology. But since the anthropology from itself had its own resources, it was able to fight against the anthropological establishment. You quoted Evans Preacher, that was the anthropological establishment, and it was able to create new trends in anthropology, able to give answers to new questions which were posed by young anthropologists in those days. So Marxist anthropology, cultural materialism, Marvin Harris or Eric Wolf, from reading to the States, even from Italy, though in Italy, unfortunately, Italian anthropologies were not translated in other languages, so that's the question we were posing before. On the other hand, sort of neoliberal policies have always fought against anthropology. Since colonial times, in a way, the administrators always thought anthropology was sort of useless discipline, too much involved in studying very exotic and particularistic, bit dirty things in some obscure places in the world. And when Margaret Thatcher went into power in Britain, one of the first things she did was to reform university and to cut funds for anthropology. Reagan did the same in the United States, and nowadays in Italy we do have analogous processes. So I'm not surprised that neoliberal politics think of anthropology as sort of useless discipline as compared to sort of solid economics or that sort of stuff. What I think now, unfortunately, and on this I would like to know your opinion, is that probably now anthropology has no more the instruments to fight against this kind of policies, because anthropology over the last 20 or 30 years, not all of it, but a substantial part of it, have in a way, I am a bit brutal on that, attempted to commit suicide by emphasizing the symbolic aspect through interpretive anthropology, and so relegating to, I don't know, to other disciplines, the study of economics, politics, or whatever, on one side. And on the other side, by continuously deconstructing its own words, basic concepts. I don't think the same anthropology is fiction or culture, a sort of basic tools of anthropology, the instruments of culture, society, ethnic groups, identity, and whatever. They're all terms which have been put into discussion, destroyed, and the image from outside, I don't think is that we go on talking in terms of tribe. Probably some of the intelligence in the United States would now read Evans Pritchard's book on the Senusio Cyrenaica might understand something of what's going on right now in Libya. So I don't think that we are no more entitled. Our image from the external world is that we are a bit too much linked to the past and to the stereotype. Is that we are no more entitled by ourselves to define what the hell is a tribe. And I mean tribe, as I mean society, culture, and so on. So we are thought of as people who are unable to give a contribution to understanding of the world we live in. So I mean, I'm talking about an anthropology guilty, which gives to its adversaries, its enemies, the right tools to finish the suicidal path anthropology has started 30 years ago. Thank you.
No, I can quite readily agree with you on just about all of this, and you're right, of course, that there was, Jairus Banaghi in the New Left Review, which I read also at a younger age, and Peter Worsley on the end of Anthropology. And I think Anthropology did succeed in renewing itself, so that particular end never happened. But I quite agree with you that there has been some fairly self-destructive activity, which I hope will not eventually end up sort of being kind of suicidal, but still, I mean, that has not been useful, sort of. And I would think, for instance, of the debate over the culture concept, where in a time when more and more people were sort of finding the culture concept useful in one way or other, you have a band of anthropologists saying that we should no longer use this concept, sort of, and to me that's a bad conclusion. I think, if this is an area where we've had some intellectual authority outside our own community, well, we should stick to that. And if we find very bad uses of the culture concept, which is not difficult to find, we should be whistleblowers instead of giving it up, because that's not going to serve any useful purpose. It was funny, by the way, that just about a month ago I took down Evans Pritchard's Senusio Cyrenaica from my own shelf and looked at it, and it's a good example of a book, that you can return to. And I understood quickly rather better the place of Benghazi as opposed to Tripoli on the Libyan scene, looking quickly at Evans Pritchard. You point to this kind of cyclical movement, which one could also describe as a sort of a pendulum swing between different points of view. And I think on the whole in the book, I have not stayed so much on these debates that we continue to have and these swings in mood, but kind of stayed with issues that are kind of more enduringly there wherever we are in that phase of swings, sort of. But your observation there, I mean, adds to the point that, well, it may well be useful to go back to some of the writings of earlier generations of anthropologists, because they may have been, at that point of the swing where you were just getting now, sort of, and so you might find that there is a kind of half-forgotten heritage which all of a sudden comes alive again.
Faccio un lavoro di cucitura tra domanda e risposta. E sono d'accordo su quello che dice. Conosco l'articolo di Wesley sulla fine dell'antropologia. Da allora c'è stato l'antropologia è riuscita in parte a rinnovarsi, e c'è stato un tentativo, è vero, di farsi del male. Il dibattito sul concetto di cultura è stato molto lungo e ci sono state delle conclusioni su cui il professor Anderson è d'accordo, ritiene appunto che sul concetto di cultura l'antropologia ha comunque un'autorevolezza che è riuscita a conquistare, che sarebbe molto utile, e lasciare invece per appunto pura volontà di ricostruire questa autorevolezza da altri è rischioso, e vedendo anche gli usi pubblici che si fanno del concetto di cultura, probabilmente il fatto che gli antropologi potessero dire qualcosa al riguardo sarebbe utile, sempre appunto anche per riguardo all'utilizzo del passato e dei vecchi strumenti. Quindi la domanda del professor De Causi era su quanto appunto distruggere i propri stessi strumenti, un'operazione che l'antropologia ha fatto negli ultimi 20-30 anni, ricostruendo vari termini, quanto queste operazioni non siano più dannose che altro per la disciplina, lasciandoci quindi senza niente da offrire come comprensione della realtà, e faceva l'esempio del testo di Ema Spriccia sui senussi della Cirenaica, e quindi quanto ancora adesso quel libro probabilmente potrebbe essere utile per i politici americani per comprendere cosa, o per noi per comprendere cosa sta accadendo. Il professor U.Hannerz ha detto sì, effettivamente proprio in questi giorni ho ritirato fuori dalla mia libreria il libro e ho iniziato a rileggere, ho capito diciamo meglio di qualsiasi altro tipo di informazione che era fornito dai media quale fosse il rapporto tra Bengasi e Tripoli. E riguardo poi invece all'inizio della domanda del professor Le Causi appunto su come l'antropologia alla fine ripeta ciclicamente lo stesso tipo di dibattiti, e quindi ci sia un oscillare continuo tra dibattiti riguardanti culture, società, storia, non storia e così via. Il professor Anthers dice sì, penso che possa essere, mi sono un po' perso quest'ultima parte della risposta, mi sembra aver capito che sì, c'è questa parte di ciclicità. È vero che quello che appare è che sempre c'è una metà dell'antropologia che viene oscurata, c'è un momento in cui una parte del pensiero antropologico è oscurata, poi magari riprende il sopravvento e viene oscurata un'altra parte. Sì, mi sembra di poter riassumere così.